Tell me, have you ever visited a house so dilapidated that it seemed to be in league with the evil things that happened there? Once upon a time, I was invited to just such a place. It was called the House of Usher, and I found it in a very desolate part of the country. The main gate was flanked by crumbling stone pillars, but through the gaps in between I could see that the ironwork had rusted, almost as if it had bled over time. I walked up to the front door, which was made of heavy wood, but even its knocker looked like a grimacing skull. And sure enough, when I knocked, a horrible sound echoed through the empty hall. It was then that I noticed how dark it was, because from within the gloom I saw two eyes staring back at me. They belonged to an emaciated old man who beckoned me inside. He introduced himself as Roderick Usher and explained that he had been expecting me. But why? I wondered, and what did he know about my family's past? I followed him into his house of horrors. It was furnished with great care, but all the furniture was covered in dust sheets, as if the house was hiding something shameful. My host led me down a corridor whose wallpaper seemed to writhe like snakes. Then we went through a doorway and into a large chamber where two women sat in the gloom. Both of them related to Roderick in more ways than one. They were sisters, and their names were Madeline and Beatrice. Madeline and I had been sweethearts at school, but she had become horribly disfigured after contracting a rare disease. Her face was now a mass of pulsating tumors, and she spent most of her time in bed, attended by her younger sister, Beatrice. Now though, the sisters had never seen daylight for many years, so they were surprised by my presence in their home. Roderick told me that he and his sisters had inherited the house from their father, who had died under mysterious circumstances. The siblings had been cared for by their mother until she, too, had died unexpectedly. And since then, strange things had begun to happen within the house. Curses, whispers, disembodied footsteps, shaking beds and doors that opened and closed by themselves. I soon realized that these events coincided with the increasingly erratic behavior of Roderick, for he was not well, no, not in body or mind. Sometimes he would laugh uncontrollably, and at other times he was overcome with rage. On one occasion, he even struck his sister Beatrice, and I knew that I had to intervene. When I confronted him about it, he was contrite and told me that he was ill. He begged me to stay and help him, and I agreed, though perhaps I should have resisted those dark eyes that seemed to plead with me. After all, how could I have known that they hid such fiendish cunning? Or that the tall, gaunt figure of Roderick Usher was a vessel for such evil? How could I have guessed that this decaying mansion was not merely a house but a tomb? Yes, a tomb, for I soon learned that both Roderick and his sister Madeline had been entombed within its walls long before I arrived. Their ghastly pallor was not merely a symptom of their illness, but of their long confinement. Their eyes, too, were not merely windows to their souls, but to the grave. I knew then that I had stumbled upon a horror that transcended human understanding, a horror that had lain dormant for centuries until awakened by my presence. With that realization came the need to escape, to flee from the House of Usher before its evil claimed me as its own. But alas, it was too late, for as I turned to run, I felt a cold hand grip my shoulder and heard a voice, raspy with age and madness, whisper in my ear, "You are one of us now." And with that, I, too, became a prisoner of the House of Usher, doomed to wander its endless halls for eternity. They say that some houses are haunted, that they hold within their walls the spirits of those who died there. Well, that may be true. But in the case of the House of Usher, it is not the ghosts that haunt the living, but the living dead.